know if it's the biggest game of the week because I think
the Brian Kelly.
That's my.
What would somebody who's excited do?
No, I am excited. I am angry. I'm angry. See, my camera's on a tripod, so when I hit the table, nothing shakes. It's terrible.
It's amazing.
Stuff is jumping off this desk, I promise. All right. Texas, Michigan. We're going to this game, Ari. We watched Texas look flawless on offense. It was Colorado State. We don't yet know if Texas's defense is having any trouble replacing Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy because we haven't seen them against a better opponent. We're going to see that. Michigan chose Davis Warren as the starting quarterback, which means they chose that type of offense. Instead of the Alex Orji starting, kind of doing what Alabama did with Jalen Milroe last season, they're going Davis Warren, more traditional pocket passer. They'll bring in Orji at times, but they're hoping that line's going to open holes for the backs, that Davis Warren's going to hit the receivers in the flow of the offense. I don't know if that's going to be the best way to beat Texas here.
Yeah. So here's the question that I have back for you. And we were at another game on Saturday, but I did my best to keep tabs on this Michigan game. I was watching it on my iPad for a little bit. And the question that I have is, at what point does it go from what are the Michigan quarterbacks going to look like this year, or what are they going to get out of the quarterback position this year to, oh no, they might have a quarterback problem? Like, 1 week, definitely don't want to overreact, but I am on high alert that Michigan is not going to get high-level quarterback play this year, regardless of who's on the field. And I think the reason for that is just taking J.J. McCarthy a little bit for granted. I mean, last year, I used to go on rants about J.J. McCarthy and how Michigan never asked him to do anything, and he never made plays with the game on the line for the majority of his career. And then it turned out to be that he was the vessel that elevated the play of his teammates. And I think there was something about having a person that confident, that talented, and that ability that really helped Michigan run the ball as well as they did. So, like, I don't know if I'm on board with, well, they didn't ask J.J. McCarthy to do a lot last year, and they still won a ton of games. They ran the ball really well. Obviously, they still have Donovan Edwards. Their offensive line is usually good no matter who it is. They do have a lot of important pieces on the defensive line, obviously, and one of the best corners in the country. But if Michigan doesn't get medium level to high level quarterback play, then I think we need to reconfigure what our expectations are for this team. And I think we're going to find out on Saturday against a very talented Texas team whether or not Michigan's going to be able to produce or squeeze value out of the quarterback position. Not just somebody who's going to operate, hand the ball off, and not turn it over, but are they going to make plays that help Michigan win games? Because even though J.J. McCarthy didn't run up the stats last year, Andy, he did make plays that helped Michigan win the game. He was very efficient in times. He always had one jaw-dropping play a game. The man was drafted in the top 15. So, like, that is a huge drop-off. So we'll see what it goes. But I do really, really feel like I'm concerned about the quarterback position for Michigan going into the year.
PrizePicks is the best daily fantasy game in America. Use that code STAPLES. Play $5, get $50 instantly. And so let's take us back to Saturday. I was using a demon square with Quinn Ewers and Sam Levitt. So Quinn Ewers was playing against Colorado State. I knew he was going to have a good game. My question was, will it be too good? And he gets pulled really early. And then Sam Levitt's the Arizona State quarterback. And obviously he had a good game, but at that point it didn't matter because Quinn Ewers got pulled just before he could go more than 299.5 yards. The demon squares on PrizePicks, those are a little more difficult to get, but the potential payout is higher. That's how PrizePicks work. You pick squares and you say, I think this person's going to do more than this or less than this. You pick at least 2. You can go as high as 5. And the more you pick, the higher the potential payout. I did win one, though. I went Dylan Raiola more than 235.5 passing yards. Lenora Sellers, the South Carolina quarterback, more than 40.5 rushing yards, and Nick Singleton, the Penn State running back, more than 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. So that one, a $50 play, wins you $250. That's how PrizePicks work. It is so much fun. It really livens up a Saturday or a Sunday, NFL obviously. I mean, or any day, because they've got everything. They have gaming, like League of Legends, like they've got all of it. So, download PrizePicks now, play $5, get $50 instantly with the code Staples. They've got the free squares. It's a Caleb Williams free square right now for the first NFL games this week, where it's basically more than 0.5 passing yards. So if you pick that one, you're going to get that square as long as Caleb Williams completes one pass, and I think he's probably going to complete a few. So download that PrizePicks app, use code Staples. The truth. Does Ari know what a pro-style offense is? It's all about the power run game with some throws, not about throwing the ball over the yard. The truth doesn't watch a lot of the NFL anymore. The pros do it differently now. You're talking about the 90s and the early 2000s, what they ran in the NFL. And yes, it's great when you can run the ball. We don't know that they're going to be able to run the ball as effectively as they were last year, and that's going to be the issue.
Will you teach
me?
Go ahead. Because I want you to teach me about football right now.
Okay, Ari. Well, there's this thing called 21 personnel.
Okay.
And so 21 personnel is 2 backs and 1 tight end. And that's what a lot of the NFL teams did in the late 90s and early 2000s. You might see the I formation. You might see the backs get
Does the
split.
I formation look like an I? Is that why
it does? And there was a thing called a fullback, which hardly anybody uses anymore. In fact, Michigan barely uses it anymore. No, it is funny that everybody's just thinks that's what pro style, like, go watch the Dolphins play. That's a pro team. They don't do that anymore.
And I just drafted the two Tyreek stack for my fantasy team, so I'm happy you brought them up. They chuck it. And let me tell you, in football nowadays, if you do not have a quarterback who can go out and make you a play, being one-dimensional as a running team is not going to get you where you need to go. Now, Michigan ran the ball very effectively last year, and they had the best running back duo in the country. I watched them play every game they played last year. I do think that J.J. McCarthy was dangerous, and it allowed opponents to not completely sell out for the run every play, because they knew if they did, McCarthy would get out of the pocket, he would make a play, he would throw it downfield. They had, I think, better receivers a year ago than they do now. I know they have Colston Loveland, who's a great target, but I don't think it's like controversial to say that if they have subpar quarterback play, that's a problem for them. Like, is that like a weird thing to think?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Here's what I think has to happen for Michigan to be in this game. Their defense has to be so good that it makes Texas's offense look average.
Which is possible, by the way. It is possible. Yeah,
it is, because this is a great defense. We talked about Texas last year with those 2 defensive tackles and how good they were and what a difference they made. Michigan has 2 better ones in Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Like, they may not both go higher than Byron Murphy did last year, but they're both going to go very high in the draft. It's going to be very similar to Murphy and Tavondre Sweat. And Michigan is better at linebacker. Michigan is better in the secondary than that. But I do feel like Texas in the receiver room, especially with who they brought in, they might be too loaded to hold back. That's the part I'm trying to figure out, is as good as Michigan is in the secondary, are the Texas receivers good enough to just be able to make plays on even this group?
It's kind of crazy to think that Texas lost like A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy and Whittington, and are just like, and JT Sanders, and it's just like they're got a lot of really, really good receivers. Like, I think that, like, to me is just the hallmark of what recruiting well does for you and doing very good in the portal. I mean, like, just having like Isaiah Bond just fall out of the sky and be on your team that next year is an important thing. So that said, I think it's possible if you did like a draft of the 2 best players in this game, that they would both be on Michigan.
Yes, agreed.
But
maybe the best 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mason Graham and Will Johnson would be pick 1 and 2, whatever order.
And
you want
Kenneth
to
Grant
put
is
it
my
in.
favorite player in college football.
Kenneth
So
Grant is probably not far behind those guys. So, like, the thing that is also wrong, because I did start this by not being too high up on Michigan, is that I think the perception too is that Jim Harbaugh left, their entire team is gone, and they're just a fraud now. And it's like, if you really open your eyes and look, they have a lot of dudes in important places, and they still have the potential to be a very good football team, a team that contends for the Big Ten title. But I do think, going back to the initial point, that they are going to have to squeeze out value from their quarterback position if they're going to reach levels that are dangerous to Oregon and Ohio State and Penn State in this league this year.
can Michigan's defense make Quinn Ewers make mistakes? Because I think that's another thing that could change this. Because if you give your offense short fields, even if your offense is struggling, you're going to come away with points a lot of the time. So can they make Quinn Ewers throw picks? Can they make Quinn Ewers do things that he wouldn't normally do? Because I do think that's probably the way Michigan would win this game.
Yeah. I do think that's possible. I do think that you're looking at a over-under here of 45.5, which I think kind of implies that that's what the expectation is, that this is a low-scoring 24-20 type game. And if it gets into that type of situation, then Michigan absolutely has a chance to win. That said, I do think that Texas has a lot of firepower, and in college football, a good defensive performance against a very explosive offense is holding them to 30. Like, we're not in the days anymore of like, we're going to hold you to 17 because our defense is awesome. Like, teams are going to score. Offenses have inherent advantages based on the rules of the game. And, Will Johnson is there, but he's not the only person that's going to, cover people. So I do think that Texas is going to win this game by a touchdown.
Well, all right. So we got your pick. Texas covers 6.5. I'm going to say almost a touchdown is too tantalizing to not take. So I am going to take Michigan to cover. I don't know if they're going to win this game, but I think the atmosphere, the fact that this is their first big home game after the national title game, this is what everybody's been waiting for. They're going to come out fired up. That defense is going to make some plays. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but I think it's going to be enough to keep them close enough to cover. So I will take Michigan plus 6.5.
You know, the spread was 3.5 all summer.
I do. And then they played the games. And Michigan did not inspire confidence. But look, Fresno State is not terrible. And this was the first time Davis Warren started a game. We always talk about the improvement from 1 to 2, whether it's season 1 to season 2, game 1 to game 2. Well, now we know who the starting quarterback is. Now we know what they're going to do. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. I still don't know if they're going to win the game, but if you're going to give me almost a touchdown, I will take it. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.